out there. It's your host. That's right. I am back. It's Jessica Koch, and this is Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been coming to you for 8 years now. Going to have to change that to 9 pretty soon. I think we have an anniversary coming up. I have been bringing you global industry experts. They help improve your personal life and they help grow your business. Today, we have the young, the beautiful, the stunning, the West Coast chick, Yalda. She is the founder of Empowered Healing Coaching, and serves as a pain recovery life coach and a mentor to adults and to youth. Yalda is a fibromyalgia survivor. There is something, if you haven't had it and you haven't experienced it, you can't understand the challenges of just walking into the kitchen and grabbing your cup of coffee or moving around and functioning. She is a survivor. I think she's a thriver. She's a passionate advocate for chronic pain awareness and a recovery. So welcome, Yalda.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your journey and your story. Pain is one of those things that, for me, it's just a hunger pain. Like if I haven't eaten, I can't think, I can't function, I can't move. I'm like, okay, I'm done for the moment. Time to go get a snack.
It is a valid pain.
Is a real pain in the world, and how
Yeah.
difficult it is to function. It affects your relationships. It affects your ability to have patience and kindness to other people. If you're in pain, it can be a challenge in so many ways. So talk to us
Yeah.
about your journey a bit.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. You know, I had chronic pain for about a total of 28 years. So basically the first half of my life. And 14 of those years, I had fibromyalgia. So just to quickly define these terms, chronic pain refers to a pain that persists for more than 3 to 6 months. And fibromyalgia medically translates to painful muscle tissue. And it's characterized by widespread musculoskeletal pain in all 4 quadrants of the body. And it's also typically accompanied by a range of even more debilitating symptoms like fatigue, mental fatigue, physical fatigue, non-restorative sleep. And for others, there's even a longer list: irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bladder, nausea, and more. So I started young with chronic pain symptoms that were unaddressed because doctors weren't exactly sure what to do, what was going on. And so by the time I was in early adulthood, I developed fibromyalgia symptoms. And I just want to be clear that, my chronic pain was classified under what's called primary pain. And this basically just means there's no underlying cause, like there's no serious medical issue. So there was no disease, no infection, no fracture, nothing, but I was in exorbitant amounts of pain from head to toe. And, I would say that most people with chronic pain, not all, but the majority would actually, surprisingly, also fall under this category of primary pain. So, I spent decades navigating the healthcare system and trying to get answers and support, seeing every specialist you could think of. And the reality was that the traditional medical paradigm had fallen short when it came to adequately addressing the underlying causes of chronic pain or providing long-term relief for chronic pain sufferers. So, pharmaceutical interventions is what I was offered, physical therapy, chiropractors, acupuncture, and that was pretty much the extent, as it is for most people battling chronic pain or fibromyalgia, which is just a type of chronic pain. So at best, I was able to manage my symptoms, not all of the time, but a lot of the time. But I was never able to cure them completely.
And I think this would cause a lot of frustration and potentially even depression because you just don't know what the answer is and you've exhausted things and it's confusing and frustrating. And I bet for your family as well, whether it's parents of someone who's going through that or spouses and partners, or someone
Yeah.
who's, going through that with you, to watch you is also probably equally, depressing and concerning and frustrating. I do want to share that we are sharing Yalda's story and what her experiences and her expertise and what's worked for her. Now, if you have any medical needs, we want you to see your doctor. So we're not giving you medical, legal, financial. I always say I'm the Italian mother of seven, but I'm not your mama. So we're not, go talk to a professional, go talk to an accountant, go talk to a financial planner, go meet with someone who has, credentials and certifications and all the things. Talk to anyone that you need, doctors, lawyers, all that jazz, yada, yada. Yalda is a great person for you to meet and collaborate with and talk to and discover if some of her solutions are right for you. But you personally need to decide that. And you also need to go talk to your own doctor, because we are not that kind of show. So, Yalda, please continue to
Yes.
share. I just wanted to get
Yes.
that out of the way.
So important. And a good segue, if you are ever experiencing pain and it's not getting better, please go to your doctor, please get a physical. And it's important to be transparent. I know sometimes it's hard. It can be difficult to talk about some of the pain issues you're experiencing. It can be embarrassing, but it's so important. And it's actually one of the first questions I ask my clients is, when was your last physical? And the thing is, people with chronic pain, especially high impact chronic pain or fibromyalgia, are like in the doctor's office every month or every other week. So usually they're on top of it. But yeah, whoever needs to hear that, please take care of yourself. So long story short, you were talking about how difficult it is, not just for you, but for your family, for your friends. And a condition like fibromyalgia is particularly challenging because people look at you and they're like, well, you look fine to me. You don't look like you're in, 10 out of 10 pain. You look perfectly healthy. And, fibromyalgia is an invisible condition. And so is most chronic pain. It doesn't actually alter your physical appearance. So you can still look healthy and be struggling, right? You can. So I always tell people for a while, on top of having the fibromyalgia, I had like localized pain. I had chronic back pain. And people were like, well, you don't look like you have chronic back pain. And I'm like, who am I supposed to look like? Quasimodo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame? Like, I have back pain.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, not at all. But they have this, like image in their mind. And I get it, right? There are these stereotypical depictions that come to mind when
Of
someone is
Igor, and he says, what hump?
Exactly. Or, you think of when someone is like in a cast, like it's easier to show them sympathy. You're like, oh, wow, are you okay? Because you can see it. But when someone looks healthy, it's hard for you to kind of wrap your mind around that. So living with a condition like fibromyalgia can be very isolating because you do face social judgment. You do face comments like, well, you just need to be strong. You need to just tough it out. Your life could be worse. Some people don't. And sometimes people, like, they're not trying to be cruel, but for them, that's their way of like trying to, support you and help you. So yeah, I mean, I think there's so many different aspects, not even just related to like the pain and the suffering itself and just getting through the day, which it can feel impossible. A day can feel like a month for somebody with a condition like fibromyalgia when you're in constant pain. So having a supportive network, having people that check on you and who ask questions like, how can I support you? It actually is a really important part of the healing, because when we surround ourselves with those who are capable of empathy and who show compassion and kindness, what it does, it provides a feeling of safety. And the safer our brains feel, the better off we are regarding our health. So that's really important. Ultimately, I'm a very curious cat. And, even though my doctors were like, there's no cure for fibromyalgia, we don't know what causes fibromyalgia, at least at the time. I'm sorry, try to manage your stress. You may have to go on disability by the time you're 30. We're sorry. I was told all of these terrible things, but I still kind of just kept searching. I kept trying different modalities, and my hard work eventually paid off. And so
Mhm.
this is where it gets really interesting. I learned more about the mind body connection, which we've all heard of this phrase, the
Mhm.
mind body connection. I learned about it through life coaching
Mhm.
and pain reprocessing therapy, which I'll talk a
Mhm.
little bit more about. These are the two modalities that helped me make a full recovery, and they're the modalities that inform my coaching practice. I was able to eliminate all of my pain symptoms that I had and really just start living for the first time in what felt like a new body. So it was like I was this phoenix rising from the ashes, having a rebirth. And
Mm.
ironically, my name Yalda means rebirth in Persian. So it's like,
Mm.
wow, that's
I
fate.
think I think that's a beautiful name. So, what point are your clients when they come to you? Where are they,
Yeah.
and what's happening with them? And then my next question, that is, as you to share that with us, how are you working with them? Is it all virtual one-on-one coaching? Are there group sessions? Is there an online course? Is it a hybrid? How are you? Who's coming to you, and then how are you serving them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the clients that I serve are typically those who not only have fibromyalgia, but they have
Mm,
what we call high impact chronic pain. So
mm,
these are people who they've been living with chronic pain for a long time, for years, sometimes
mhm,
decades,
mhm.
and their chronic pain interferes with their ability to not just like enjoy their lives and do leisurely things, but to do like simple things like chores around the house. Many
Mm,
of them are on disability because they can't work.
mhm,
Many of them have a hard time just standing in like one spot because their body hurts. So
mm,
many of them are even just bedridden. So
mm,
these are people who have really severe chronic pain. And again, they have primary pain. So they've been to the doctors, they don't have a disease, they don't have a structural, like a severe structural
mhm,
abnormality. They don't have an infection. They've been told by doctors, we don't know. Like we don't know why you're in pain. We're sorry. And so they're basically trying different options like I was at one
mhm,
point, because I
mhm,
worked with pain recovery coaches. That's what inspired me to
mhm,
become one once I healed. So they find me, and they are just looking for another way to get
mhm,
better. And I do want to say though that the medical paradigm is shifting. And I've even spoken to my doctors, my previous doctors that I
mhm,
used to work with. And I said, hey, like I'm becoming a pain recovery coach. And I haven't even actually gotten into really what I learned, but, and I
mhm.
tell them about what I've learned and how it's helping me heal. And they're so happy for me. And I had one doctor who was like, well, listen, when you start your practice, let me know so I can send you
Good,
some clients because
good.
you know and so it's interesting how my doctors are like learning from me, but they are
Mhm,
starting to learn about some of the recent pain science research. And so
mhm,
um, what has been helping my clients has been learning more about the mind body connection.
mhm,
um, and what we're referring to now is like a mind body pain. um, and what modern pain science has revealed is that most chronic pain is the result of the misfiring of pain circuits in the brain. So, in other words, the brain has learned a pattern of chronic pain. Now,
mhm,
fortunately, the brain is neuroplastic, and that's just a fancy word that means that the brain is adaptable and malleable.
mhm,
It can learn new patterns, which means
mhm,
it can also unlearn patterns as well. So the clients that I work with are like, whoa, that's really interesting. I want to learn more about that.
mhm.
They want to learn more about, this concept of neuroplasticity so that they can actually rewire their brains, which is possible. It's absolutely possible.
I'm gonna jump in and say I was just listening to a really great book, Quantum NLP. And if you want the author and all that, just put it in the comments, let us know, and we'll send it to you out there watching. But uh, the author is German, Christina something, I can't remember, but she talks about one of the things when you're working with someone like you, one of the simple things that they should do is go to work a different way. come home from work a different way. Do something
Mm,
small that's a little bit different than your normal pattern because it
yeah.
helps reinforce building new pathways, which will help
Yep.
you on the bigger thing that you're trying to achieve, which is what you're working with them on, right? So if they do some extra small things that are different, my husband made me laugh. When we were listening to this audiobook together, he said, "Yeah, sometimes I try to put my pants on with my and put my other leg in first because I always use my one, always puts the right leg in first." So, and I started to think about it. I always put my left leg in first, And he said I do something simple like that because it helps disrupt
Yeah.
that autopilot pattern
Yeah.
in our brain because we can constantly, like you said, build new neural pathways. Now, I mentioned
Yep.
how are you serving your clients? So is
Yeah.
everything you're doing virtual? Do you have in-person patients? Is it a hybrid? Are they all one-on-one? Is it group sessions? Share with us kind of what their experience is going to be when they reach out to talk to you and work with you, or have you help their family or themselves, or just discover more about your story personally.
Yeah. 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 So I'm offering virtual sessions.
Mhm.
I offer a free monthly virtual meetup group.
Mm,
And we meet via Zoom. We actually had
mhm,
one last night. And this is just a great space for people to come together. It's a great space for community,
mhm,
right? So I really want to create a space where
mhm,
people with chronic pain can come and kind of connect to others who are going through something similar. Because I think a
mhm,
lot of times when we're suffering in our health, we tend to maybe isolate, or it's hard to talk
mhm.
about, or we feel like, oh, nobody's going to understand what I'm going through. I felt like that for years. I mean, I couldn't even say the words I have fibromyalgia out loud for like over a decade. So it can
Yes.
be really hard. So it's a safe space, but it's also a space where I teach my clients about pain science education, and
Mhm,
everything that I teach is evidence based. So there's
mhm,
nothing that I'm sharing that is something that I've like even come up with myself. It's hard science. And so I share resources,
mhm.
and it's fun too. Like, we have opportunities to just like laugh. It's not all serious all the time. I think that that's an important part of healing, is to be able to insert
Laugh.
humor.
Yeah, it's the best medicine.
Laughter,
Uh,
100%. So like I have a light personality, so I like to insert some humor as much as I can. And then I do group coaching,
mhm,
a minimum of 3 people, and I do private one-on-one coaching. And again, this is all through Zoom. This is all
mhm.
through Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we move on to your tip, is there anything else about the business or you that you want to
Yeah.
share before we get to sharing a tip with everyone out there?
Yes, yes. So I wanted to just quickly share the approach that I use, since it is a two-pronged approach. So I talked a little bit about this. One part is using components of a mind-body approach that's
Mhm,
informed by cutting-edge pain science. And
mhm,
it's referred to as pain reprocessing therapy. And this
mhm,
is what we were kind of talking about, reprogramming the brain to properly interpret and respond to signals from the body. And
mhm,
so I use some of the components from this modality in my practice, since that's what worked for me.
mhm,
But equally important is really incorporating life coaching principles, uh,
mhm,
because our daily habits, our practices, our mindset,
mhm,
our overall lifestyle plays a very significant role in our recovering, for securing a foundation for health and wellness. And so in life coaching, we evaluate all key life domains such as relationships, career, environment,
mhm,
personal development, to just identify any potential stressors affecting our health. Because most chronic pain is very mind body in nature. The mind
mhm,
affects the
mhm,
body. So we want to ensure that if there's anything significantly stressing you out in your life,
mhm,
sometimes it's right under your nose and you don't actually realize it. So that's where life coaching can really come into handy, is to provide that awareness. So bottom line, there needs to be a holistic approach, looking at the person as a whole, in
mhm,
mind and body. And the mind and the body, at least in Western medicine, have been historically considered separate.
mhm.
But now we're starting to understand that how deeply interconnected the mind and body actually are.
I love that. I love that. Give everybody a tip. They could use one.
Let me see. I always love to say your vibe attracts your tribe. Stay
Mhm.
true to who you are, and you will naturally draw in people who resonate with your authenticity.
I feel the same way. I think that's how you came into my world. I tell people all the time, 80% of the people I interview, I've never met before. I get to learn about them, meet them, hear their story, all live on an interview. I mean, how lucky am I? Like, that's the best life ever. And I feel that we're all energy and all connected. And I think that I end up meeting these beautiful, amazing humans. One other podcast host said to me, "Oh my gosh, Jessica, aren't you scared you're going to get some person that isn't right for your show?" And I'm like, no, I feel like, like sand and rock and soil filter your water in a natural water well, which is what we drink from. And where I live in our community, we have wells, and it's filtered by the soil and the sand and the rocks. And I feel like my community, where we reach out to people, how people referred in, it's this natural filter, where I get these shiny, bright, beautiful humans who show up. And so the water's always pure here on Profound Professionals. We don't end up with people who aren't necessarily right for our community or our space. So
Like attracts like. Yep.
yeah, I think that's a real thing. That is a real thing. Now, one of the favorite things about our show, we've been doing this since show number one. It was intentional, it was purposeful. I feel like here we are. We're live on several social media platforms. We're going to be pushing and doing so much with our podcast here so that we can support you and feature you, Yalda. Why not take a moment of pause outside of you and me and the show itself and spread some awareness, because awareness is one of the number one things you can do for a cause that you care about and love. Spread some awareness, because you may inspire someone to give time, treasure, or talent to
Mm.
that cause. Remind them of a cause that they love themselves, and just inspire someone to do something good. So if this show, our main, the only thing we accomplish at the end of the day is sparking a few people out there in the world, because you were kind enough to watch and you were kind enough to share and put comments in, we might inspire them to put the cause you care about out there. So put that in the comments now. Hit the share button, because you could be a hero. Yalda's going to share with us a cause that she cares about. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Sacramento, California, and I started volunteering with a nonprofit organization called My Sister's House. And they
Mhm.
are a domestic violence service provider, and they offer
Mhm.
services to women and children who
Mhm.
are facing domestic violence.
Mhm.
And I, learned about this organization in my community, and I decided to volunteer as a crisis counselor. And it was there that I met some of the most incredible people who were serving the community. And it was also very eye-opening for me to actually learn
Mhm.
about domestic violence, because it
Mhm.
is an epidemic throughout the world.
Mhm.
Um, and I found that there were tips that I even learned when I was like navigating dating, and red flags to look out for when you're
Yeah.
dating certain behaviors, that I wasn't taught in school, and nobody else taught me. And so I remember thinking, wow, this is like really useful information,
Yeah.
um, that isn't really in front of us, but I think it needs to be, especially for women and girls.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're doing fantastic work. I volunteered with them on and off for years. I was actually a bilingual interpreter
Mhm.
there at the shelters, and got to connect with some amazing families and see them kind of heal. It's a different kind of healing than what I do in my practice, but it actually is connected to chronic pain
Safety.
too.
Yeah.
It's about safety, but also with people who are in relationships where they don't feel physically safe or psychologically safe,
Mhm.
that can really harm the brain, and you can start experiencing chronic pain issues,
Sure.
and other health issues. So domestic violence is actually, it's a public health issue.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
is that connection. But yep, My Sister's House doing great work. I know they're on all the social media platforms if you want to learn more about them.
Yeah, and if you want to look in your community and see what safe places there are, because safety is, food, shelter, safety, love. These are the um, components I feel every living uh, creature, human, animal, plant on this planet, ocean, deserves
Mm.
deserves all of those things. Those are the basic components of life. I hope are ones that everyone deserves. So I love that you're doing that and you're involved in that. And again, we'd love to hear about your causes. Now we're going to get into your book. So you got to keep typing in those comments. We want to see what are your favorite books? What books have inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business? And if you're an author, we want to see that too, because when you're kind enough and someone else is kind enough to share this post, your book is getting out there too, and the things that you love are getting out there too. And who knows, we just might have you on the show as well. So, Yalda, talk to us about a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
I have two books. So the first book is for anyone who is experiencing chronic pain challenges.
Mm,
And it's actually more of a workbook. It's called Unlearn Your Pain by Dr. Howard Schubiner and Michael Betzold. And this book played a really monumental role in my recovery. It's comprehensive, it's educational, it's
mm,
inspiring, it will make you cry, it will make you feel all the things. It's very, very healing. So I highly recommend that book. And to others, sort of a more general book, but still very applicable to people experiencing chronic pain. It's called The Power of Neuroplasticity by
mm,
Shad Helmstetter. And it's a book that basically, and we kind of touched on this, it's the
mm,
concept of, you being able to take control of your life by rewiring your brain. And
mm,
it's written through a lens of empowerment and motivation and inspiration. And, as a coach, I'm drawn to that language. Um, and I really love the Audible version of this book, actually.
mm.
It's really beautiful. So yeah, if you're someone who likes that fire and that inspiration, this is the book for you.
Yeah, I love stuff about the power of the brain. It brings to mind Silva Mind Control. That's a book my husband and I have read and listened to multiple times. And, anything about how powerful our brain is in order to
Yeah,
impact our life and our body and our health. Totally one I'm going to listen to and recommend to my husband and with my husband. We read and listen to a lot of books together. So
I love
uh,
that.
that sounds like a great one for us. So this has been a good show. I have really loved having you. I hope you've enjoyed being here with us today, Yalda.
I have. It's been
Oh,
wonderful
good.
connecting with you.
Good. I like it too. And if you're out there and you're thinking, "Hey, wait, I can improve someone's personal life. I really can grow someone's business. I can really help impact their world. I have a book. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm all the great things." Well, we think you're great too. So reach out to us and our team, and we'll let you know just how to get on the show. Now, before we say goodbye, don't worry, everyone out there. I'm not going to let her get away. I've got her hooked still. Actually, before I get to your inspirations, I'm going to tell you when I was young, for about 5 years, I lived in California. I have a lot of family out there, and I'm on the East Coast now. But I went to Laguna Vista Elementary, and I was at Point Mugu Military Base, and I was there in the time when Mount St. Helens erupted as a child and in elementary school. So,
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
have you always lived in California?
No, I'm actually originally from Canada, but
Oh,
I came to California when I was a young child, so pretty
yeah.
much
I
most
was
of my life.
elementary school. I was
Yeah.
there, I was there, yeah, from like, because preschool I was in Maine, and then we were in California. I was a military brat, and and by kindergarten we were in California, and then I left by the third grade.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, somehow 4 or 5 years that we were there. But anyway, the math works somehow. And but I just wanted to mention that. Now, before we say goodbye, for real, I want to get a piece of information or inspiration to close out our show today.
Yeah, I would say, it's simple but sweet. Don't lose hope.
Mm,
And it's better to fight for the life that you want and to live with purpose and integrity than to one day leave this earth having never tried pursuing your goals and your dreams. So I'm a firm believer in that it's never too late to become the best version of yourself. And you don't have to do it alone. There are people out there that will support you, that will listen to you, that will not judge you. And so just keep that in mind.
I love that. I actually had another show years ago we started. I didn't keep it going, but it was called You're Not Alone. So you're not alone, and don't lose hope. I tell my children all through their growing up, as long as there's life, there's hope. So as long as you are breathing, there is hope, no matter how desperate the situation may seem, no matter how difficult or how you believe no one else could understand. You're not alone. Someone out there can understand. And don't, and, you know, as long as you're alive, there's still hope for, like you said, the best version of you, the best life and love and all of the things you desire are still an opportunity. So just hang on. So thank you for your final thought today. I'm your host, Jessica Koch. This has been Yalda today. She has been amazing. And until next time, our next Profound Professionals, remember out there, be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.